The year is 2049. The world is a cold and desolate place, drenched in endless rain and illuminated by the eerie glow of neon signs. Society is divided, humans cling to their superiority while replicants, bioengineered beings designed for labor, exist under strict control. Some, however, refuse to bow to the system. And that's where Blade Runners come in, tasked with hunting down and retiring rogue replicants. Among them is Kay, a quiet yet efficient Blade Runner working for the Los Angeles Police Department. But Kay isn't just any officer. He's a Nexus 9 replicant himself, a newer, more obedient model designed to never question authority. His latest mission takes him to a desolate protein farm on the outskirts of civilization, where a fugitive replicant named Sapper Morton has been hiding in plain sight. Kay arrives at the farmhouse and the encounter is anything but peaceful. Morton fights back, but despite his brute strength, he is no match for Kay. Before taking his last breath, Morton mutters something cryptic. "You've never seen a miracle." The words linger in Kay's mind, but he brushes them off, for now. As he combs through the area, Kay stumbles upon something unusual, a buried box beneath a dead tree. When examined back at LAPD headquarters, the contents shock everyone. The remains of a female replicant who had, against all logic, died in childbirth. Replicants aren't supposed to be able to reproduce. The discovery shakes the very foundation of what everyone believes about their existence. Lieutenant Joshi, Kay's superior, immediately recognizes the catastrophic implications. If the public were to find out that replicants could procreate, it could trigger widespread chaos. She orders Kay to track down the child and eliminate it, wipe out all evidence that this ever happened. Kay, ever the obedient Blade Runner, accepts the assignment. But something about this case unsettles him in ways he can't quite explain. Following the trail, Kay is led to Wallace Corporation, the tech giant that took over from the defunct Tyrell Corporation. Its enigmatic CEO Nyander Wallace has one goal: to perfect the replicant production process. He knows that an autonomous, self-replicating replicant species would be the ultimate key to limitless expansion. Learning that one of Tyrell's older models successfully gave birth ignites his obsession. Enter Love, Wallace's most ruthless and loyal replicant enforcer. Cold, methodical, and brutally efficient, she is tasked with tracking down the child before anyone else does. As Kay follows the breadcrumbs, so does Love, staying one step behind, watching from the shadows. Kay's investigation leads him to an unsettling clue. Near the burial site, he finds a date carved into the dead tree, June 10, 21. It triggers a buried memory, one of a childhood he never knew he had. In this memory, he recalls hiding a small wooden horse inside an orphanage. But that's impossible. Replicants don't have childhoods. They don't have real memories. Or do they? For the first time, Kay starts to question everything he thought he knew about himself. Could he be the missing child he's hunting? The idea is both exhilarating and terrifying. Determined to uncover the truth, Kay sets off to follow his only lead, unaware that in the shadows, Love is closing in. The more Kay digs, the more he finds himself tangled in a mystery that feels disturbingly personal. The carved date, June 10, 21, won't leave his mind. The memory of hiding a wooden horse in an orphanage, something that shouldn't exist in his head, feels too real to ignore. Replicant memories are artificial, mere implants designed to give them a sense of history. But if this memory is real, then what does that mean for him? Following this lead, Kay arrives at a grim and overcrowded orphanage. Sifting through the records, he finds something unsettling, an entry from the right date, but with a glaring contradiction. There were two identical records, one for a boy, one for a girl. It's clear that someone deliberately hid the true identity of the child. One of these entries is a lie, designed to protect whoever was born that day. Kay searches the abandoned remains of the orphanage and finds something that shakes him to his core. Hidden away exactly as in his memory, is the wooden horse he once placed there. A powerful realization washes over him. His memory isn't artificial. It's real. For the first time in his existence, Kay allows himself to believe that he could be more than just another replicant. Could he be the miracle that Sapper Morton spoke of? The first naturally born replicant? Driven by this revelation, Kay seeks out Dr. Anna Stelline, a memory designer who specializes in crafting realistic pasts for replicants. She lives in isolation, confined to a sterile dome due to a weak immune system. If anyone can verify whether his memory is real or an implant, it's her. As she peers into Kay's mind and watches his memory unfold, something unexpected happens. She begins to cry. This memory, it's real. Kay's world tilts. Everything he knew, everything he was programmed to believe collapses. If the memory is real, then so is the possibility that he is the child of Rachel and Deckard, the first ever replicant to be born, not built. But before Kay can process his identity crisis, his world shatters again. Love has been tracking his every move and now she strikes. She storms into the LAPD headquarters, kills Lieutenant Joshi, and seizes the remains of Rachel's body. With no authority to protect him anymore, Kay is now a rogue replicant, alone in the world. He has one final lead left: Rick Deckard, the former Blade Runner who mysteriously disappeared decades ago. If anyone has answers, it's him. Through his search, Kay finds himself in a ghost town, the ruins of Las Vegas, glowing in an eerie orange haze. Here he finally meets Deckard, a grizzled old man who has spent the last 30 years in hiding. Deckard is wary of Kay and doesn't trust him. But Kay is desperate for answers. Slowly, Deckard reveals what really happened all those years ago. When Rachel gave birth, their child was hidden by the few who believed in a revolution, replicants who wanted to break free from human control. To protect their child, they erased all traces of its existence, even from Deckard himself. He never knew where the child was taken, ensuring no one could torture him for information. Kay, still clinging to the belief that he might be this lost child, struggles with the weight of it all. But before he can process any further, Love and her team arrive. A brutal assault ensues. Deckard is captured and Kay is left for dead. As a final cruel blow, Love destroys Joy, Kay's holographic companion, his only source of emotional connection. The last remaining piece of comfort in his life vanishes in an instant. As Kay lies on the ground, battered and broken, he realizes the truth. His purpose, his identity, everything he believed in has been taken from him. He is alone. But something within him refuses to die. Kay rises not as a Blade Runner, not as a mere replicant, but as something else entirely, someone willing to make his own choices. And his choice is clear. He must save Deckard before Wallace extracts the secret of Rachel's child. Because if Kay is not the miracle, then that means the child is still out there.
I need the specimen to reach it, Mr. Deckard.
Rick Deckard is now in the hands of Wallace Corporation. Taken to the heart of the sprawling industrial complex, he faces the enigmatic and ruthless Nyander Wallace, who sees Deckard as the key to solving the mystery of replicant reproduction. Wallace is desperate to unlock this secret. If replicants can reproduce naturally, he will no longer be constrained by the limits of manufacturing. An infinite, self-sustaining workforce could colonize the stars. But there's one problem. Deckard refuses to talk. To break him, Wallace presents him with something horrifying: Rachel. Or rather, a near-perfect replica of her, rebuilt with the same delicate features, the same haunting gaze. Wallace offers Deckard a deal: reveal what he knows about the child and he can have Rachel back. But when Deckard looks into the eyes of this imitation, something is missing. He knows the truth: this isn't her. She isn't real. Without hesitation he turns away. Wallace, unimpressed, gives up on persuasion and orders Love to take Deckard off-world. If they can't extract the truth from him here, they will do it somewhere far worse. But Kay isn't done yet. Despite his injuries, despite having lost everything, he tracks the convoy transporting Deckard. The moment arrives, a fierce, unrelenting ambush near a stormy coastline. The battle is raw and merciless. The waves crash violently as Kay and Love engage in a brutal, desperate fight. Love is relentless, stronger, faster, driven by pure purpose. She nearly drowns Kay, holding his head beneath the freezing water, her expression devoid of mercy. But Kay isn't fighting for survival. He's fighting for something greater than himself. With every ounce of will left in him, Kay turns the tide, overpowering Love and forcing her beneath the water. She thrashes, struggles, then goes still, sinking into the abyss. The storm rages on, but the battle is over. Kay hauls Deckard from the wreckage, gasping for breath, battered but alive. For the first time, Deckard realizes Kay isn't here to kill him. He's here to save him. And then, the final choice. Rather than reunite Deckard with his child, Kay gives him something even more valuable: the chance to decide for himself. Kay brings Deckard to a quiet, unassuming building, one he has traced to the only person who can answer everything. As they arrive, Kay gives Deckard one last look, a silent assurance that this is the right path. Deckard steps inside, and there, in a glass-enclosed lab filled with artificial memories, he sees her, Dr. Anna Stelline, his daughter. The moment is quiet, wordless. After decades of sacrifice, of hiding, of pain, father and daughter are finally in the same place. Outside, Kay sits on the steps, gazing up as snow falls gently around him. He is bleeding, his body broken, yet for the first time in his existence he feels at peace. He always thought he was programmed for a purpose, that his identity was defined by someone else's design. But in the end he made his own choice. As the snowflakes settle, his breathing slows. The neon lights reflect off the icy ground, and Kay, the Blade Runner who once followed orders without question, now fades into the night, not as a replicant, not as a tool of the system, but as something greater. A man who made his own path. Blade Runner 2049 is more than a futuristic noir. It's a meditation on identity, free will, and what it means to be human. Kay's journey is a testament to the idea that meaning isn't found in where we come from, but in the choices we make.